Hello everybody, I am Keaton of Kinetic Catholic Ministries, back with another video. I hope that you all are having an absolutely wonderful Tuesday so far. I know that I am for the Season 14, Episode 15. Now, I want to warn before we get into today's video, two things. One, that this probably isn't for younger audiences, so keep that in mind. I know a lot of times families kind of sit down and watch them together, so just keep that in mind. Number two, a lot of what is talked about in this video may be disturbing. It may be really, really difficult to hear, and so understand that. But at the same time, I'm not talking about it because I want to, right? I'm talking about it because it's necessary. And again, even if not a lot of people see this video, as somebody with even a little bit of a platform, I'm not doing my job well if I don't speak about this, right? If I don't acknowledge and understand that this massive issue that is going on within our world right now, which is the cultural attack on children. I think that people hear this and then people think that this is kind of an over-exaggeration, that children are being attacked within our culture and that it's not true and that it's falsified, it's fiction, it's exaggerated. That's really not the case. Like this is an accurate thing. I'm going to go through some examples today of this overall cultural attack on children and what we can do as Christians, but even Christians and non-Christians alike, to defend the children that are currently in our world. And again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an adult. I'm still 17, so I'm still technically one of them, right? And so you got to remember that as well. So I want to look right here just really quickly in Scripture. Matthew 19:14, but Jesus said, "Let the children come to me and do not hinder them, for to such belongs the kingdom of heaven." Children have such a vital and important role within our church. There's actually the saying, the church of the future, right? And I kind of don't like that as much. I like the church of the now, right? Because what children do impacts the church now. So in fact, that's even one of our like hoodies on the Kinetic Catholic website, right? Is church of the future marked down, and it says now. Because what we do as kids, what we do as young people impacts the church now, and also for the future. And so it's important that we're protecting children. And I think for a long time, one thing that kind of everybody could agree on, whether they were Catholic, whether they were not, whether they were Republican, whether they were Democrat, what everybody had in common was, yeah, children need to be protected. For a long time, that's pretty much been kind of a consensus issue, even though it comes in different forms, that yes, children need to be protected. And I think any decent person can acknowledge that yes, children need to be protected. However, this is kind of being twisted, and this is being turned into an attack on children by the culture. And I don't necessarily think that every individual person who supports things like these is for attacking children. I genuinely think that they don't understand the full impact that this can have on the lives of kids. But then there are also undoubtedly people, especially those that are elite, right, that understand what we as a society, and by society I mean our modern Western society, right, in this time period right now, is doing to kids and the negative impact that it has, and it's supported, right? And so let's look. I want to start off by talking about how there is a misunderstanding of the word hate and a misunderstanding of the word love. And those things have been twisted and turned into justify things, and people use the word love to try to justify actions that aren't rooted in love, but are rooted in selfishness. And in the same way, people try to use the word hate to attack individuals for defending the truth. Because there are hateful ways to defend the truth, undoubtedly. It is possible to be hateful, and that's never a very good thing. But people conflate not approving something with hate, right? Just because we love other people, we should love everybody else. We're not to judge another individual. That stays the same. That doesn't mean that we should approve of everything. And so let's get into these examples of how this culture is kind of attacking our children in general. I want to start off with a Tennessee bill that is being proposed. This was kind of came out in early March of this year, in which there was a bill that is being proposed within the state of Tennessee. And a lot of people online are losing their minds about it, right? Are very anti this bill, which I don't really understand how you can have a moral conscience and be against this. So basically, the legislation would ban, or rather raise the penalties for people who permit kids into a sexually explicit or inappropriate performance or show of some kind. So let's see the quote. I have it pulled up. The bill defines an adult cabaret performance to mean a performance in a location other than an adult cabaret that features topless dancers, go-go dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators who provide entertainment that appeals to prurient interests or similar entertainers, regardless of whether or not performed for consideration. Right there, basically, what this does is anyone who violates that law would be hit with a misdemeanor, and repeat offenders could face felony charges. So basically, it ups the charges, it ups the penalties for allowing children into an adult performance, which you would think everybody can basically be like, yeah, that's fine. Adults, kids shouldn't be going and seeing these sinful things, right? I mean, adults shouldn't be either, but that's a whole other story. People would think that that's fine. In addition to this, there is a Washington bill that has been passed, and this one is a little bit more recent, which would basically would allow kids that are running away and seeking of an abortion or in seeking of a sex change. It would allow the shelter, wherever they go, to not notify the parents, right? It would be up to that individual shelter as if parents were to be notified that about their kid and what their kid is going through, which you would think most people would be like, yeah, parents should probably know what's going on with their kids. But in today's society, that's not a thing, right? Taking away parental rights are happening second by second. And then we're seeing more and more this idea of parents kind of being removed within our society. And therefore, that a lot of dangerous things can come about from that. I think that we can use our common sense to get there. Next example. I'm going through these examples fairly quickly because I have a lot. This one is absolutely disturbing and absolutely disgusting. And again, I want to warn that there is going to be some disturbing things that we were talking about. But there is a Australian news network called Channel 4. Basically, the whole thing is that kind of what I think a lot of the social movements of our modern day and age have been pushing towards is a normalization of pedophilia. I don't necessarily think that each individual within all these social movements, especially the LGBTQ movement, supports pedophilia. I don't think that. I think that there's a lot of great people who are misled. But I do think that the movement as a whole has been moving toward a supporting of pedophilia and kind of this wokest movement in supporting pedophilia. And we're seeing this with this Australian news network. Channel 4 released a series called Naked Education, in which adults, and again, this is absolutely disturbing, and I don't like talking about this. I don't like saying it, but it needs to be talked about, because if we just ignore it, then it becomes a greater issue, in which adults strip in front of children. And it is to promote body positivity, and it is to promote healthy dialogue about our bodies. But it is literal, like just genuine pedophilia happening right on TV. And it is on TV, and it is supported, and it is encouraged, and it is being allowed to happen. And it is only a matter of time before stuff like that starts to seep into our country as well, and before that becomes more and more normalized. But also, just because it's happening in Australia doesn't mean it isn't an issue, right? Issues still exist regardless of where they happen in the world. An issue is an issue. The next example is, and I made a whole video about this, so I'm not going to spend as much time on this, but a lot of us know about the Balenciaga ad scandal that happened a couple months ago. I think it was a couple months ago. I get my time mixed up. In which children were shown on pictures for Balenciaga, and kind of advertisements, in kind of holding dolls in sexually explicit clothing, and there were a lot of like child porn court cases hid throughout the background, a lot of demonic stuff, and a lot of kind of just pedophilic undertones throughout the entire thing as well. That was absolutely disgusting, which Balenciaga apologized for, but nobody was ever like officially had any consequence. And beyond that, when there is a big event in which a company is canceled, right, or something happens in a company, a person is canceled, kind of celebrities surrounding that company will cut off all ties, right? That did not happen with Balenciaga because apparently a normalization of pedophilia is allowed to happen somehow. And so, guys, this is some really, really scary stuff that needs to be talked about, that needs to be addressed. Beyond that, there's kind of this song from San Francisco Choir in July of 2021. You could consider it old news. It's still a thing that happened and that we're seeing more and more play out as the years go by, in which a San Francisco choir sings, "We'll convert your children."
We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children.
And their whole idea, and I think this is the biggest example of twisting the word hate and love. Their idea is that, oh, well, we'll convert your children to be loving, not to be hateful, and to be tolerant of everybody. Which, I mean, when you hear that, it's like, oh yeah, who would disagree with that? Of course I want my kids to be loving. Of course I think everybody should be loving. I think everybody should be tolerant. I don't think anybody should be hateful. But again, it's that twisting of the word, right? Approval of things that are inherently and morally evil is not in any way love, right? In fact, what is true love is to defend the truth and to call out that evil out of love for the other person, out of love for that other person's soul. That's what love is. And so they're misusing this word love and this word hate to change it into something in a really, really creepy way that exemplifies just these adults saying about how they'll convert kids into this ideology that completely ignores any sense of morality. And that is a really, really sad thing that happened, and we're continuing to see it play out more and more every day. But beyond this cultural attack on children, and kind of in terms of seeping children into ideologies that aren't true, engaging children in genital mutilation, and terrible, just incredibly dangerous and horrible medical treatments as kids. There is also literally mass murder of children going on in our society that is allowed, that is encouraged, and that you are called hateful for if you disagree with it, with abortion. I know I've talked about abortion a lot. Guys, I don't keep talking about it because I want to be controversial or because, oh, this is a hot topic, this will get me clicks. I keep talking about it because it's genuinely the biggest problem within our society right now. In fact, there's this Bill Maher quote. I want to quote him, who is pro-choice, by the way. And there's a quote of his that came out recently when he was, I believe it was a talk show. And he said, he said, quote, that's another one. Again, I'm paraphrasing it, but he goes, that's another one. Pro-life people hate women. Quote, they don't hate women. They think it's murder. And it kind of is. I'm just okay with it. I'm perfectly okay with that kind of murder. That's what he said. They don't hate women. They think it's murder, and it kind of is. I'm just okay with it. I'm perfectly okay with that kind of murder. That was his words, which is very honest. I mean, at least it's out there, right? It's a very honest thing to say than to reject the idea that it's murder at all. But no, it was a very honest quote. And if it's really, really sad because in our world, you can go on TV and say that, yeah, you're okay with that kind of murder and it's fine. But if you went out and said, you know, I'm not really okay with murder, with that kind of murder, I'm not really okay with murder in general, then you can get hate for that. That's sad. That is really, really sad. And it's specifically murder of children. Children who cannot speak for themselves, not because they are not alive, but because they don't have the capacity to speak for themselves, just as infants don't. That doesn't mean that we should kill infants, right? I mean, there is a thing as understanding that these babies are alive. That's just a scientific, biological fact. This isn't like a conservative talking point. Like, they are literally just alive. So this mass murder, it's legal genocide, right? Millions upon millions of babies die day after day after day. Guys, this is a real problem. Okay, all of this is a cultural attack on children that is building up. And for us, guys, for us to pretend like it's not going on is an issue. But then for us to pretend that there isn't something deeper here is also not an issue, right? I mean, I don't think that you have to be religious to acknowledge that these things are wrong. What I will say is that we as Catholics understand that Satan is somebody who is very, very real. And we kind of don't talk about it enough, I don't think. We kind of like to ignore his existence. He's real, and he's leading us. His whole goal is to lead us as far away from Christ as possible, and his whole goal is to influence the culture. I absolutely believe that so much of this is satanic. I do. I really, really do. That so much of this is rooted in a satanic, demonic ploy at seeking out children and destroying any sense of morality. And it's done through the idea of making everything a social construct, right? That everything is just a social construct, and because of this, there really is no morality, right? Gender gender, that's just a social construct. All of these things are just social constructs. How you dress, that's a social construct. And because of that, so much of what is true and what is genuine and what is real is getting completely mutilated and ruined into this idea of something that is wrong, right? And if we as Catholics are to defend that, if we're going to come out and say, yeah, like I'm not for all of this lack of morality that's going on in our world, we'll get hate for that, right? But listen, if there is a bright side to all of this, it's that the Catholic Church has been through many hard times before. The Catholic Church won't fall. We know that. It's the one true church. It can't fall. It is Jesus Christ's church. And despite all the hard times it has been through, it has made saints, it has made martyrs who were willing to go out of their way and suffer persecution to defend the faith. I'm not trying to compare us to the martyrs. Right now, we're not facing physical persecution like they were for our faith. But there are Christians in certain parts of the world right now that are facing physical persecution. That can't be denied. And beyond that, it's still going to be difficult, right? Nobody said being Catholic was going to be easy, but that's a part of it, right? And if we as Catholics are not defending the faith, if we as Catholics are not sticking up and acknowledging that what is going on in our world is wrong, is sad, and needs to be stopped, then we are not doing our job as children of God called to lead other souls into heaven. Guys, we're not doing this to restrict anybody's freedom. What is truly liberating is Jesus Christ. Liberation is not this idea that you can do anything whenever, wherever, just for fun, and that all that matters is pleasure, fun, happiness. That is a fake idea of reality, guys. That is something that the evil one tries to get in our head and that society has in their heads in order to deceive us, in order to lead us further and further away from the truth, further and further away from Christ. Guys, that's not liberating at all. What is truly liberating is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ provides that liberation, and we as Catholics, we need to understand that if we truly love everybody, if we truly are going to obey the commandment of love others as yourself, then we cannot be complacent and leading souls astray. I'm not saying we got to be hateful, and again, that word hateful can be twisted a lot of times. I'm not saying we got to be hateful. I'm not saying we got to be judgmental. We shouldn't be in any way, shape, or form. But there is nothing wrong with calling out actions and things that we know are evil. And guys, this attack on children is such a prevalent problem that it's like, why isn't there a massive uproar about it in our society right now? Why aren't we all sitting down and saying, yes, children are being brutally attacked in so many ways through a change in their ideology, through a mutilation of their body, and through literal mass genocide of children in our world right now? It is so, so sad. And guys, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to say everything is all doom and gloom. And again, we have hope in Jesus Christ. We have a faith, a trust in Jesus Christ that he will guide us. But we need to use that hope, right? We need to pray. We need to talk to him. Prayer is a powerful tool. Let's not undermine it. Let's not take it for granted, and spread that among our society, one person at a time, and kind of counteract this culture, the cultural attack on children with a counterculture, which is what I talked about a couple videos ago in a similar video to this, with a counterculture of love, of love in Christ, of understanding the importance of the nuclear family, and understanding that babies should not be murdered, right? That murdering innocent lives is never a good thing. So because this was a longer video, we're not going to have a Saint of the Week this week, but I hope that you all are having an absolutely wonderful Tuesday so far. I've had an absolutely wonderful week. Please click the red subscribe button down below and the bell next to it. That way you get notified when I come out with a new video. Please check out all three of my social medias, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The link to all three of those will be in the description down below. Please comment any Saint or topic suggestions that you might have for future videos. Please go check out the website, kineticcatholicministries.com. There's so many awesome things you can do on there. Once again, I am praying for you all. I ask that you will keep me in your prayers as well. And let us pray for these children, for the children of our society, for the young people of our world, for Generation Z, Generation Alpha, right, is the next one, by the way, and that we may kind of keep them in our prayers, but then our culture in our prayers as a whole, and to drive away the evil one and the evil that is seeped into our society, so that we may come to understand truth, light, beauty in Jesus Christ through the Catholic Church. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. This was Keaton of Kinetic Catholic Ministries. I will see you all next week, and hi Brielle.